Hey everybody, welcome to the Fire It Up with CJ show. Today we have Jim Donovan who's going to be talking about his book Happy at Work, and he's going to be sharing his top tips on how you can create more purpose, success, and happiness at work. Welcome, Jim.
Hi, CJ. Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. Now, I was reading on your website, which I thought was really interesting, is you created these, there's 60 tips, of which you're going to be talking about a few, but how did you create those 60 tips?
Great question. They just come to me. I mean, I literally I just ask for guidance. I say little prayers and stuff when I write. A lot of it started from looking around at people in workplaces and noticing that some people are happy and a lot of people are unhappy. What's the difference? How can I change that if I'm me? And because I'm coming from my turf has been personal development for the last almost 20 years. So I'm coming from that side of it. I'm telling you, how can I change me to be able to be happy in whatever situation I'm in, including and especially in the workplace.
Right. When you look at people at work, what do you think are the basic blocks? What's blocking them from their happiness?
The big one, I think, and it's becoming a big part. I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it jive talking from the old disco.
Okay.
It's what we keep telling ourselves about what's going on around us. You know, Eckhart Tolle said something about unhappiness is not caused by what happens. It's
Right.
caused by a story that you create to tell yourself about what happened. And that's really where it is. I can look at a situation in a workplace and I can find all the reasons why I'm unhappy and how much I hate it and how much I don't want to be here. The only problem with that is I'm the one being unhappy. It's my life ticking by while I'm being miserable here. This is, to me, that's insanity.
Right.
So I'm going to change that around. I'm going to look at, okay, so what can I do to feel better?
Right.
What can I do to make myself feel better no matter what's going on?
Yeah.
And
Okay.
come out from there.
Okay. So in some ways, what I'm hearing is that jive talking is stories that we have in our head that create the situation. And in a lot of ways, I think of it when all the self-help books that I've read. It starts creating your reality. If in fact you believe all those things, they start creating and manifesting as true in your life, right?
Yeah, it's pretty much, it's, I think, pretty much accepted now that we do have a hand in that and that whatever you concentrate on, whatever you focus on, you're going to start moving toward that. So that's where it starts, and it starts at home. It starts when you wake up in the morning. People are waking up going, oh, why do I have to get up?
Right.
That's a bad way to start the day, man. Do you want to live in misery? I've been there. I lived miserable for a while, for a long time.
Yeah.
Had my whole 10-year downward spiral, crash and burn, and come back up again. And I learned all kinds of things. And that's why I write what I write today.
Yeah.
I learned things that work.
Tell us about your crash and burn and how you kind of came back.
Well, I came back, yeah, but for the grace of God, the beginning of that. But the crash and burn was just I got really caught up in my habits and my excesses, and spent about 10 years spiraling. I moved through 6 or 7 places in California and back to New York and around in the Bronx, and boom, finally surrendered. I said I've got to either die or change, and thank God the change was the outcome of that. From there, I got on a path of personal development. That's a big part of how I got to where I am as far as my own life and the work that I do. Again, a lot of it's give back. I started reading, I started listening to audios, and I noticed that as I was doing that, as I was applying the principles that I write about and speak about today, my life was getting better. It's not rocket science. I do this happens, okay?
Right. It works.
Wow.
Okay.
Light bulbs went off in my head.
Okay, so you have 60 tips. If you focus on, one of the common ideas in business is the 80-20 rule. What are the biggest bang for your buck kind of tips that are in your book of the 60? Which are the 3 that are your favorite, personal favorites, or that people seem to really groove on?
Well, one of my personal favorite, and the one that I use regularly in my own life, is I always ask the question, what's working? I don't want to know what's wrong. I don't care what's wrong. What's wrong is going to take me where I want to go.
Yeah.
What's going right? What's working? What's good about this? What do I appreciate about this? What am I grateful for about this? And all of that puts you in an energy where you're going to start seeing more of similar things. You're going to see more of the same.
Right.
So you're going to like attracts like again. So what am I attracting now is things that are working, things that I want, things that are progressing. And I've used this when I've been at low points, and my wife has done stuff with me and said, all right, what's working? I've got nothing. And one of the days it was, okay, so something must be going right. I said, yeah, selling books in Saudi Arabia because I had sold like $100 worth of books or something in the world. But it starts you moving back because the what's wrong takes you down that rabbit hole, and it's not a place you want to go.
Right. It's like you were saying before, if you wake up in the morning and you're thinking about what's not working, it just kind of sets your mind for focusing your attention on what's not working versus what's working. And what happens to you when you focus on, even in challenging times, when you focus on what's working, what happens? And people sometimes call it gratitude practice or things like that. What happens to you when you do that?
It starts moving me back, and I'm finding the value in whatever little there is. It's like, if all you have is a bowl of rice, enjoy the rice.
Right.
You have a bowl of rice. My late uncle had a great line. This guy was a homicide cop. I could do an hour on him.
Yeah.
One day, somebody was coming up to him and said something. He was complaining about the battery in his car died. Mm-hmm. And George looked at him. He said, "Well, imagine if all you had was a battery." Boom! It just knocked him right off balance. You can't be in self-pity with that kind of mindset. Be thankful you have a car, fool.
Exactly.
This is a guy who lived on the streets and all, so you could lose that appreciation.
Right,
rate.
exactly. Okay, so what's working? What's your second or third tip that you would suggest?
Get engaged. Why are you at this job in the first place? And a lot of times it's finding out about your company, finding out about your role in it. Start to see how it relates to you. What is it providing for you? Change your whole attitude. You may not love what you're doing right now, but if it's putting food on your table, that's a big plus. Yeah. There are people who don't have food tonight. This is real stuff.
Yeah.
So you start from there, because you'll start feeling better as you become more engaged in work. Several things happen. One of them is you start to feel better because you're connected to something. We all want to be connected. It's one of Maslow's needs. It's on the pyramid of needs, like number 3 or something on the bottom. Yeah. We have to have that connectedness, and getting engaged at work does that. You start to become more productive. People notice. Maybe you get promoted. You start to enjoy it more. You can find ways to enjoy it no matter what you're doing. You can find ways. How miserable is it to just be going through the motions of something for 8 or 10 hours every day? That's got to be drudgery.
Yeah.
Drudgery.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Okay, and the last couple minutes, what's another tip?
The big one, the absolute big one, and the work that I've been doing for 20 years is create a vision for what you want your life to look like.
Okay.
Start identifying what you want in your life. This is people's biggest problem. They don't stop and say, okay, what do I want? Health-wise, career, money, family, social, where do I want to travel, where do I want to live, what do I want to... Start just getting a sense of, if everything was great, what would that look like? Because if you can start to define it, as you know, and I've written about this, and I've been living this for 28 years, from the bottom up, this is how I got here. Keep creating a vision. What do you want next? What do I want to do next? What do I want to have in my life next? I want to reach, for me, it's reaching more people. It's having more of a message going out.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's basically creating a vision for what you want. It looks like we actually, it looks like we have a question out there. Okay. No, we don't. Okay. So it's really about creating a vision for your life. And how can one start there? So I think when I ask clients, I usually just ask them, like, what is it that you want? I mean, it's very simple, I think, for creating a vision is, what do you want with respect to your family? What do you want with respect to, your work life? And just doing that is enough to get the basis of a vision. What else do you do with clients to help them come up with their vision?
Well, I like to use a time frame. Just tell me about your life 5 years from now. Mm-hmm. What do you look like? I've done this work. I do a volunteer program I've been doing at a prison for 18 years. Mm-hmm. And it's a nice time frame because it's manageable. If you talk to a 21-year-old, especially 21-year-old at the bottom, about 20 years from now, they're going to laugh you out of the room. And a year is maybe too short a time. So it gives you a nice time frame. So in 5 years from now, what would you like to have in your life that it's not there now? What do you want to do? What would you like to change? And like you said, you just start identifying. We're not taught to do this anywhere. We just kind of, most people get up and walk out the door and hope for the best. The problem with that is you're living on default.
Right.
Choosing. We get to choose what we want. I'm living the life I've chosen. I didn't just land here, man. 30, almost 30 years ago, defining it and fine-tuning it and fine-tuning it and fine-tuning it, and it keeps tweaking more and more to what I want for my life at this time in my life, and my wife and I, what we want to do and where we want to be. But it's not by accident.
Yeah. Right, it's actually you're navigating towards a path of your own desire versus just kind of making up something and following just whatever particular path that comes along. Okay, another question for you. So you talk about, in your book, it's about basically getting you to purpose, success, and happiness. How do you describe success?
For me, success is doing something meaningful. I mean, what was it? Earl Nightingale said it's the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. For me, that's what am I doing with myself? How do I feel? And I don't define success by money. Money's a part of it. Yeah, I like nice things. I like to live a nice life. I know what it's like not to have money. I don't like that.
Yeah.
It's like Somebody said I've been rich, I've been poor, I've been poor, rich. But it's really more about what is my life about.
Right.
I mean, I'm driven to do the work that I do. I have to do this. It gives me amazing feelings to be able to impact in a positive way the life of somebody somewhere in the world. It just blows me away that I can do that. I'm just this kid. I tell people I'm an Irishman from Staten Island. I tried to throw out of high school, but I got like no big athlete. This is the real deal. What you see is what you get. You don't chat over it.
I love it. All right, so we have Jim Donovan, who has created his own path based on his own life experiences after reading a bunch of self-help books and traveling this path himself. And he has his newest book, Happy at Work. You have several books out there. Tell us your other books and how people can find you.
JimDonovan.com is the place to find me, JimDonovan.com. The books, Handbook to a Happier Life, which is the same publisher as Happy at Work. What are you waiting for? It's your life. Don't let an old person move into your body. There's a book for baby boomers and people who, 45 plus, 50 plus crowd.
Yeah.
Stop Living Paycheck to Paycheck is just a little ideas book about ways you can make money without quitting your job and, mortgaging your house and all that stuff. Just simple stuff. I'm a simple guy. I do simple stuff.
So we actually have a couple of questions from listeners. Would you be kind enough? I'm going to send these to you in email. Would you be kind enough to answer these, and then we'll post them on the website? Would that be
Sure.
okay? Okay.
Be my pleasure.
All right, wonderful. So we have Jim Donovan, who's here talking about Happy at Work. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, CJ, thank you. It's been a blast.
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. I would love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.